Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back at the Elysian tonight. Not really. Close.
I'm back.
Almost.
Almost. My name is Scott Fitzsimons, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to another episode of the Whisky Roundtable on this day of day, this night of nights. It is, of course, state against state, mate against mate tonight. So the New South Welsh men and women line up against the Victorians tonight in their heroic end to lockdown 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, whatever lockdown this is, 4.0. It has been a big week in whiskey, as it always is, and we're all snuggled up here, very cold. That's why we've got so many people on the stream tonight. We're getting nice and close together, socially and responsibly through different locations. It's cold. It's getting around. It's good whiskey weather. You know, people are getting the flu. They're not sure whether it's COVID, not sure whether it's the flu. Matt Bailey's looking worse than usual, which is a remarkable achievement. I would like to welcome some very, very special guests from what we can only assume is the Elysian bar itself and the Elysian storeroom itself. Wong and Kelvin.
Hey,
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are you all tonight? And most importantly, what is in our glass?
Kelvin, take it away. What are you drinking?
Yeah. Having a lovely Springbank local barley, 11 years old.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Was either going to be that or this lovely number. I'm going to savor this one.
Oh, I think I've seen those before. I'm not sure what that is. There you go.
A few years ago.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. But this one for now.
Okay, very cool. What do you got?
I'm actually drinking a beer. It's a raspberry Berliner Weiss because I just had some cheesesteaks, so I need something to wash it down. I'm gonna get some whiskey in a second.
Very summery beer to choice for tonight. That's very good. Yes.
Yes,
Alex, what are you driving?
I have the Kalara Dark Mofo release.
This year's one.
Nice.
Cheeky.
I'm heading down there next week, so I've kind of got to get to know it.
Very cool.
Yes.
You're doing the stand for them, huh?
Yes, I'm helping
awesome.
I'm helping Christy out just for the 5 nights there and hanging out with her during the daytime. So
Lovely.
making some cocktails and pouring whiskey.
Should be fun.
Melanie, what do you want?
Bit of Starwood. Drink Victorian whiskey to support our Victorian friends.
Indeed. Yep. Scotty, what's in your glass?
Mate, I'm going to absolutely slum it tonight. I've got a few to choose from, but I think I'm going to start with a 26-year-old blend number 1 from the Boutique Whiskey Company. Got a bit of a miniature left over, so a teaspoon something.
Very nice. And I'm hitting a bit of peat tonight. I'm drinking something that is from the sister distillery from Speyburn. It's called Bamore. Probably never heard of it, but it's an 18-year-old sherry single cask. So,
wow.
Goodies.
Delicious.
I want to do a quick shout out to a lot of people watching all around the world. A quick g'day to Whiskey is My Jam, who, as usual, is across all 4 streams. So congratulations to the admin of that page. John Jarvis down in Hobart. Matt Waller says, good on with it, Scotty. Yes, I'm trying to, mate. Paul Leyland, a good friend of the stream, says, my favourite bar I've never been to. Mate, they're going to be open soon, in a couple of days. So
Friday onwards.
Friday, they've got to get down there. James Finnegan, go the Blues. Good on you, mate.
And happy birthday for this week.
Happy birthday, Jimmy.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dave and Caroline Taylor down in Tassie. Dave Worthington, good morning from deepest mid-Bedfordshire.
Good on.
Hey,
Davey, how you doing, buddy?
How you going?
Mark Westmoreland, the big daddy of the stream, says in the name of the Father, the Malt, and the Whiskey Spirit. Nice to see you all again, mate. I hope you've been working on that since last week because that is a beauty there. Rocky Field is pouring Kilkerran 12. Excellent drink, that excellent dram that you can't get your hands on for love of the money. And I want to say g'day to James as well, jumping in on the YouTube, mate. You're on your own in the YouTube comment section. That is a weird and not so wonderful place. I think we have wanted to get you guys on this stream for so long, but because you guys tend to work on Wednesday nights, it's been a little bit difficult. So we've finally got you on thanks to the silver linings of lockdowns and that sort of thing. So we've been waiting for so long to ask you these questions. So I'm going to kick off if the guys don't mind. I really want to get this one off my chest. One of the greatest whiskey bars in Australia, nay, the Southern Hemisphere. Why don't you serve Pinot Noir?
We serve it seasonally.
Exactly. We used to have it.
Yeah, it literally just came off, and we switched to the Malbec. But it was we were having Pinot in summer actually.
But you had some lovely Malbec, right?
Yeah.
All right. So enough of wine table. Wine round table. Guys, I want to know a bit about your background before you started Elysian. So, Kelvin, do you want to kick off where you were before you opened the beautiful bar that I love to go and sit at?
Cool. So my background, I'm actually from a restaurant background. So I was managing Japanese restaurants for 8-9 years. And just pretty much fell in love with whiskey, wanted to do more with it. And boom, here we are. So a hobby turned into a business, I guess, yeah.
I don't know if you remember, Kelvin, but I met you at a hotel bar years and years ago.
That's the one I was managing, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, you introduced me to Mars for the first time ever. We're going back 8 or 9 years, maybe. Awesome. And that was that was my first introduction to Mars. So I could tell then that this was not your regular restaurant manager. They knew something a little bit more was going on.
I guess the timing was really good as well. This was 2011ish, and man, Japanese whiskeys were just starting to pick its head out of Japan, and there was lots of access to the stocks as well. So there was one point in time, that restaurant I was looking after, we had the largest range of Japanese whiskeys in Australia.
This was definitely pre-boom. This was definitely like that pre-boom of Japanese whiskey in many
ways.
Way
before the boom.
Way before.
Way before. To a point where it just didn't have really much category interest in Australia.
And you could buy stuff there.
You could still order Karazawa by the case.
Yeah.
I could get this by the case. I could get anything you want, really.
Most listening into the podcast, I think he's just held up single cask Nika.
Single cask. What was
it? Miyagi-Kyo.
Was?
This was a
Miyagi-Kyo single cask. Yeah, Miyagi-Kyo single cask.
Yep.
Stuff like
Casual.
that.
And now it's pistols at 10 paces to get even one bottle in an allocation.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
What about yourself, Yao?
I came mainly from background of cocktail bars, and then through working through a lot of places in Melbourne, I was I think many of you would have met me while I was still in my tenure at Whisky Melbourne, and then that's where we worked together briefly, and then after that we opened this place.
Wonderful. And how long have you been open now?
We've passed the 4.5 year mark now.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Fantastic.
5 in December. Yeah.
That's awesome. Time flies.
It does.
Very much.
Does fly.
I mean, 4 in December if you minus out a year because of coronavirus, so
we forget about that when we're counting numbers. So
it's like people that have their birthdays in lockdown. You just wind it back 1 year. It's like
2020 didn't happen. Yeah.
It's like daylight savings.
Yeah.
now you guys have made a huge impact on the whiskey scene recently, especially in bars and winning all the awards that you guys have. Yeah, we'll start with you. I want to ask, what was your light bulb moment with whiskey that you were like, I'm going to open up a whiskey bar?
I think it's like more of a natural progression kind of thing. It was never a light bulb moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, for us working, behind the bar in the industry, there's, there's very few options if you want to stay in the industry where you end up, you end up as a brand ambassador, you end up, working for either a really big company, such as yourself, you ended up with Speakeasy, quite a very large company structure, or you ended up, opening something of your own. And, there's very few options if you want to stay in. Otherwise, you end up outside of the.
You can go distilling. You can open up.
Yeah, exactly. Then you'll end up outside of that part.
You could
But I don't want to distill though. Like.
You
Way
can.
too
I don't
hard.
want to wait.
Way too
Very
hard.
impatient. Too
You
impatient.
can be a brand marketer.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Hey.
So if it's not behind the bar, you'll have to be a brand ambassador or a rep or on that side, production.
Yeah.
So the avenues are not exactly wide, but they are fulfilling.
Okay. And what about yourself, Kelvin? Did you have a moment of like, I want to do this forever?
Wow, I have to find the easiest way for me to pretty much make things tax deductible, really. I'm not really a brand ambassador kind of person, so, this was the most, feasible kind of thing. Yeah.
So there's a lot of people watching here that I presume have been to the bar, but there's a bit of chat going on about they're definitely going to go down there on their next visits. For people who don't know, that the bar essentially is you too. Yeah,
Pretty much,
there's not a lot else to it. So if for people who haven't been to your bar before, when they walk in the doors of the Elysian, what was the ethos? What was the idea behind, creating your bar as opposed to just another whiskey bar?
I guess, what we get from a lot of people who've come for the first time to the bar is they always say this, it reminds them of a bar in Japan. And that was really the main ethos. Everyone who's been to Japan, been to the bars there, they love the atmosphere. It's a slightly smaller style kind of bar. More attention to detail. You get to chat with the bartenders. You get to sit up at an actual bar itself, And I think that's what's kind of missing in Australia. We've got a lot of amazing bars, but not many bars you can actually sit up and perch up at a bar and chat whiskey.
Also, it's mainly modeled after bars that we like to drink at. So it's like we just think about what kind of bars do we like to hang out at as whiskey people, or like people they like to drink the kind of whiskey that we stock. We're like, what kind of setting would be right, because we drink the kind of whiskey that we stock. That's the whole reason opening a bar is like, this is a good way. Then we can actually buy the whiskey we want to drink and open it.
Yeah.
And then you get to share it. It's a good way to share it.
And another focus of this bar is, when we started 4.5 years ago, again, there was not really a very big push for independent bottlings of whiskey. SMWS was around. We had Adelphi's, everyone knew it. Signatory was around. But apart from those few, I think Australian clientele, they didn't really know the other brands that was available. So we really wanted to push that, in Australia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's there's a quick comment coming here from James. Said we should open a bar as an inevitable thought at some point that most people have during a heavy night. They wake up the next day and forget about it. And I think that happens with distilleries as well. With 4.5 years into this now, maybe just quickly, it's hard to compress that, but any highlights from that 4.5 that made it, yes, this was worth it, and any sort of really challenging moments that people who are watching this going, I can start a bar, you should go, well, wait, just.
I see. I think with the I open a bar moment is we have to remember that we both came from a hospitality background. So we both came from managing venues, big or small before. So we knew what's up. If you're going into this fresh, it's gonna have a lot of problems. Especially if you don't quite understand what you do. It really comes down to because we had a background in hospitality before that it kind of works.
That's it. Yeah, I would agree with Yao. Many people go into it blindly. Same like the distilling scene.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I love whiskey. I think I can make it. I'll start a distillery tomorrow.
Can I ask you, Kelvin, as well, and Yao, just that when you first started Elysian, and obviously the focus, as you said, Australians for the most part and Melburnians knew. They knew SMWS, they knew Signatory, Adelphi, they knew a few indie bottlers, they knew a bit of that scene. What do you think has been sort of the best avenue for you to introduce all these new ones as well, and to sort of explore that other realm of it? What spurred that on? How have you found that, especially as you're going to be approaching 5 years soon? How has that changed? Especially, how do you think that's changed since you've had that opportunity?
Wow, lots have changed in this 5 years, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I've seen it myself. From your end of the stick, what do you think has been yours?
Oh, I think the availability of this stock is really good. So I think people are quite exposed to the brands now with the internet as well. They're all over the internet. Something gets released in the UK, man, they're all over the distributor here in Australia already.
Yeah,
so in terms of that,
crazy.
I read somewhere there's now 1,500 independent bottlers around the world now.
Not surprised. Every person give me an independent bottler now, to be honest.
I reckon that's a lowball number.
You have one Fanatic collector in Germany who buys a cask and puts it on Whisky Base. That's an independent bottler.
Yes,
that's the problem. It doesn't really sort of. What does that phrase mean anymore? I guess, but exactly. I was more interested in sort of finding out how that progression has changed, like how people order whiskey. How people come into the bar and beyond, most bars of saying, yes, I know Talisker 10 and I know Johnny Black. How have you seen that change?
For the beginner, I think no change. because
Yep.
for a beginner in whiskey, whether you've tried indie bottlings or official bottlings, it actually doesn't matter because they haven't tried it before. So for them, and it's going to be a new whiskey either way. So the experience will always be new. It's more for the intermediate to slightly more experienced drinker. Then they get a bit more. It's a bit more fun for them as well, because they'll come into a bar and they'll be like, "Oh, I've heard about these bottlings. I've seen them online before. I never tried it. I see that you've got a bottle." So they'd be more keen to step out of that way and try them.
Yeah.
Do you see some sort of do you see the beginners coming in? Do you find there's an overwhelming point, or do they?
We do get lots of beginners as well. And I
Yeah.
think the good thing about this bar is we kind of force people to go try something they haven't had before, because they'll be asking for, no offense to the big brands, but a Macallan 12 or something, which we have Macallan 12. But let's say a big brand that we don't have, we will push them using flavor profiles,
To anyone from Spirits platform, we love you all. Just for the record, we love you. But it was just like,
Tell me,
yeah.
what big brands don't you have?
Oh, I mean,
That's what I want to know.
That's the most loaded
for
question
example,
of all time.
For example, it's kind of more like we will have things from the big brands, but it won't be the standard bottling. So you can't just, a lot of times, sometimes we come in and ask for an Ardbeg 10, and maybe we're not stocking Ardbeg 10 at the time, but we've got Ardbeg 23. You want to try that? But obviously, that doesn't work. That doesn't work that way.
Like Old Pulney, we haven't had a standard Old Pulney since forever, really.
How much
one in the
Speyburn do you
first year.
have?
Oh,
So
I
I've got
got answering it.
But now we just got the one for barrel and batch, which is fantastic. So
We've got this nice single cask Old Pulteney here, so that's good.
I saw.
That's good.
that's it. Yep.
So Speyburn 12 next.
Oh yeah.
Jam of the month.
Speyburn 10, sorry. Speyburn 10. I'm just hearing that
10
now.
euro.
Speyburn
Sorry,
10.
yeah, it's coming
We'll do a 12-year-old exclusive. Don't worry, it's fine.
I think you touched on something there, though, is like you've sort of not put people outside of their comfort zones, but really progress their journey. And I want to just pick up a comment that Peter Bignell from the Belgrave Distillery made. We haven't been there for a while, but every time I go to Elysian, there are quite a few people I know to have a chat or a dram or two. I don't think I've ever walked into that bar and not known someone sitting on the other side, which is quite remarkable.
Because it's like seats, how many people? 20?
25.
Oh yeah, cozy 20. Cozy 20.
That's some good odds.
I want to say a quick g'day to Dom Roscoe, says hello from sunny Norfolk. You are all looking great. He caveats that by saying, but not Alex. She looks terrible tonight. I think I'm reading that right. And a quick update from, and I'm getting live text updates. Apparently the Veronicas are opening State of Origin 1 tonight. Good friends of the stream, obviously, the Veronicas. So I'd like to give a shout out. And hope you
Are
give
they
me a
on
tonight.
Celebrity Apprentice at the moment?
No, they're playing at Townsville.
You
I don't
guys
even know what
get time
Celebrity
to watch
Apprentice
reality
is.
TV?
Was that?
What even is a Celebrity Apprentice? What is that?
I saw the promo for it, and the Veronicas were on it.
Yeah. So mate, weird things happen during lockdown. All of a sudden, they're both experts on reality TV.
Yeah.
Suddenly, is Big Brother still a thing? Are you both
I think
lying?
it's what's on before The Bachelorette. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
But haven't we on this show discussed a whiskey reality TV show? Pitch? Didn't we come up with that?
Yeah, that's our copyright. Sorry, I forgot about that.
so-
Yeah. I mean, no one will watch it, but it exists.
Is this it? Maybe we need to pick a winner.
You're watching it right now, folks.
Live reality TV right here.
No,
It's
I'm
live
going
right
to
now,
take
folks.
it. I'm going to take us away from whiskey slightly because we were definitely on topic already there. But anyone that's friends with you on social media knows how hungry they get just watching pretty much everything that you post, because not only is there great whiskeys, but there is a ridiculous amount of delicious food that
Oh, is that my Instagram?
you are continuously making.
Unbelievable.
And I salivate and feel very jealous of all of our friends that live in Victoria that know you, that get to eat your food. But where's that come from? Is that just another passion, or is that something that's, have you come from a cooking background yourself, or are you just an avid foodie that makes delicious looking food?
That too. Yeah, I am definitely definitely a foodie. Like, I mean, it's a nice way of saying I'm a glutton. Like, I eat a surprising amount of food, and people like kind of quite surprised to see how much I eat. Sometimes it's pretty scary. Like, if you ever come on a trip to like Japan with me, for example, you're be ready to put on the pounds because I'll be eating 4 ramens a day in between meals.
Shotgun.
So my average, like, it's quite funny when I posted about it, when, like, my usual trip to Japan is like 7 days, but I'll post up like 25 bowls of ramen. They're like, what? How did that work? I'm like, no, I ate them all in 7 days, and I ate all the other dinners too. Yeah. So yeah, I eat a lot, but then I just end up cooking things that I want to eat, and you don't always get what you want here. So the best way to do is make it yourself.
And have you ever thought about incorporating the foods into the bar aspect, or is it very much a separate passion?
We do have some food here. We have like light finger food, but obviously we don't have a kitchen, so we can't really go much further with that kind of hot food. So as much as I'd like to, but it's also a pain in the ass sometimes having to deal with
the two of us.
food and it's just the two of us. I mean, Alex, you've worked in bars that where food is part of an aspect of it, and oh my god, it is a pain in the ass, and especially now during a chef shortage. Oh my god.
I mean, Matt
Especially
Waller's comment
working
there,
with
food is
chefs.
life. Food is life celebrated. That comment, Scotty, that's basically your antithesis, but he's right though.
Food is what you do.
It's
when
a
you run
required
out of whiskey.
sustenance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You eat to stay alive. You drink to live.
I swear to God, you could almost be on Soylent Green at this point. Just like required nutrients.
It's in the meat.
If I could get out of a single glass, like the ability to stay awake and have energy for the rest of the day at 9 a.m. in the morning, that's what I would do.
Isn't that called an up and go?
Isn't that Guinness? Guinness and orange juice?
Yeah, Guinness and orange juice, yes.
I really
There's
wish I had
very
that
recent-
ethos, Scotty, because I have to work hard to keep the food that I eat off. So I wish I had that moment where food wasn't such an epic need and love.
Oh yeah.
You mean epic want?
Eating is cheating. Eating is cheating. I've long said.
Oh wow.
Good Lord.
That's true.
There's so much to go over, but there's a good comment that I've just posted that from Tim Good. Says, planning my first trip to Vic when it opens back up. Really keen to check it out, the bar scene I've heard so much about. And I think it might have been the Leylands before was saying they're planning for October. Obviously, we want people to be very responsible with the world that we live in and listen to the authorities and get our jabs as quickly as possible and all that sort of stuff. But do you have any advice for people when we can travel back to Melbourne to, like, how many days is it going to take? I've heard a lot of good rumours about bars that we love here maybe moving from South Melbourne into town to be nearer to bars like Heartbreaker, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So, like, how many nights do you really need to do Melbourne properly?
How much can you drink?
Exactly. How many can you do a day?
It's like how long do you want your bender to be? How long can you handle it? How long's a piece of string?
I think
minimum
my
2 nights is very good, right?
No, 4.
I think my first visit.
4 is good. 4 is good. 4 is good.
My first visit and my first night, I think I was in taxis back and forth because I didn't know the place at all either. So I was just sitting there just going, I want to go here next. Where's that? It's in Fitzroy. Right. How do I get there? Right. Off you go. It's just like, now I want to go here. Where's that? That's in the city. Right. Off you go.
That's just bad planning, to be honest.
Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible planning. But I made them to them all. I somehow managed to get to every single one. But I was just back and
Well
forth
done.
all across.
Yeah.
And
It's
people who
definitely easier to do a bar hop in Melbourne than it is in Sydney. The bars are a lot closer to each other.
Without a doubt.
that's what I was about to say. Like, I think there's a few people who haven't seen the chat from there from Sydney. And the beautiful thing about Sydney is that the roads aren't straight and it's all over the place and nothing looks the same. The problem about Melbourne is every street looks the same and it's just a grid.
True.
So you do
True.
really need to plan it in advance because you'll stand on a street corner and be like, I've been here before. That's because 400 of them look exactly the same.
You could just throw a rock. You throw a rock and you hit a good bar. Then just go in there.
That's true. That is true. And you've said the words like Lonsdale and Latrobe and Swanston so many times, and you're like, I swear we've been to this street 3 times already. Where's
And
that bar again?
then they put a little in front of it.
Yeah. Oh, that's creative. That's creative. Yeah.
Like, you try and find a go-get in Melbourne, and it's like no, that's the wrong one. It's on Little or it's on the oh, Jesus Christ.
Look, use your Google Maps. You get a phone.
Oh dear, I'm taking it back on topic, guys.
Okay, back on topic, Alex. Bring it in.
What's been one of your biggest challenges running one of the best whiskey bars in Australia?
Lockdown.
Oh,
to be really honest, yeah. Nothing worse than the lockdowns, the 4 lockdowns we had,
So you guys did some awesome things during lockdown. Tell us about what you guys did.
Well, I guess, the most fun thing we did was the online tastings, you know.
Mhm.
And it was kind of good for a small bar like ours, because normally when we do tastings, we can fit a max of 22, 24 people. And with the online tastings, you know, we suddenly double that capacity.
Yeah.
And lots of these guys, you know, the Leylands and lots of other friends, you know, they can join us from Queensland or Sydney, wherever.
Yeah, it was really good for our interstate friends, for sure.
Yeah, and will you continue that stuff going, like those virtuals moving forward?
We
Well, it looks
we
like
just
we might
did
have to.
one in-person tasting before we went back into lockdown again, and restrictions have come into place again. So yeah, it'll be online again.
Because I know that COVID and lockdowns changed a lot of our MO in the Speakeasy group. Is it something that you'll continue with virtuals as well as in person? Like, because that's where I've seen a lot of whiskey bars doing now. They're still doing it in person, but then putting in a live element to it. Same with whiskey shows. They're all doing the same.
So we haven't quite found a good way to do a good hybrid, because for us somehow the feeling's not the same. So I think we've decided that if there is a speaker locally and is in person, then we can do it. Then we'll do it in house. But if our speaker is from the UK, then we'll just do it all online. It just makes more sense that way.
Yeah,
I think I've done 2 hybrid events, and Scotty's done 200. But I mean, it is a hard mix to get right. It's that
Exactly.
yeah. It is hard. It's hard to get that sort of feeling of whether you're presenting, which crowd you're presenting to, and
That's it.
and you often have to over-explain to the online group in a way. You have to sort of overemphasize everything, because you know that you're going to miss some details that might be lost in body language or otherwise. And it's
no matter what you do, somehow one group will always kind of sort of miss out, which is unfortunate. And it's something that we gotta work out. You know,
It is really interesting, and you know, we've had that exact thing. If without making people too motion sickness, I'll try and fix that like this.
I'm just going to hold on. Hang on. Okay.
Big beautiful screen we got here, 85 inches of glory, just in time for footy season. I mean, hybrid tastings, but it is. We've now done about 10 hybrids this year, and it is we found that balance. Sometimes we were too focused on the in room, sometimes too focused on the guests. We're getting it back though, and I think it's actually the future. I would love to see you guys do hybrids, you know. And I think, you know, lucky enough we had Matt run one with us last week, and it was great to have him actually standing up rather than me just sitting behind a computer screen to interact while we're doing that. So, because, you know, your tastings, you know, you open stuff that no one else can open. You've got stuff that no one else has. So I think it'd be a real shame for that not to continue for people who don't live in Melbourne to get access to that.
Yeah, that's what we're hearing from lots of customers as well. So yeah, just got to find that balance and work it up.
Yeah, just goes to show that some people are better than others. So Oak Barrel is clearly just not living up to the standards of quality.
Wow. You know what? You know what? You'll never see another bottle of Speyburn on the back area with Oak Barrel ever again. You know,
I think that's the last tasting I've ever done with him, that's for sure.
Once every stream, there's someone that tries to make a joke that just falls flat. So there you go. There's a bit of candle after for you, Milne. There you go. You can have that. Have that one on the
I definitely think it's our next evolution is combining both of them in like virtual and in-room tastings.
I
think so too.
I see it. I get it. But at the same time, I mean, Scotty, you know, this is well as anyone. I've hosted again, how many virtuals last year, and even this year, it's tastings and live streams, and it's just like you still can't. And I agree with what I've heard this a few times. You can't replace the in-person experience.
No
matter the virtual, and even if you finish the most amazing virtual tasting, you still get to the end of it and you go, I felt about 65%. You know what I mean? I felt like 65% of what it could have been. And that's at the top end. It's usually like 30%.
Yeah, it's also because you end up sitting in a room by yourself. And that's not what we're talking about.
No, you don't. You end up sitting in a room in front of a camera, and the camera goes off, and then you're like, oh, okay, like, where's the party?
But also the people watching. And whiskey is not meant to be drunk alone. And so I think that is the thing that will never. And so what we're trying to encourage is housemates and partners to sort of, you know, get together and do it. But yeah, I think that'll come with time. Judging by what we're getting on the stream here, like Paul Leyland says, please keep doing the tasting. Richie wants you to keep doing the tastings, but needs a Yao food catering delivery service as well. Quick shout out.
It's not complicated enough already. Come on.
Quick shout out to Kathleen. Really tough for small business in Victoria with constant lockdowns, no JobKeeper. Shout out, and I know Kathleen is very close to a lot of small business.
Hi, Kathleen.
And I want to say a quick good day to Sir Gordon Dundas as well. I don't know whether it's the knighthoods in the mail or not, but we're just going to knight him via us instead.
I don't know why we all saluted.
Sir Gordon. Good levels of innovation. And obviously with what they're working on, I'm looking to do more tastings live from the distillery warehouses as we tour around. And I think that's a really good point, is using, to their strengths. You've got the bar to sort of pull stuff and talk about it. And I think that's a really good, I think we should all be innovating. We didn't innovate enough before lockdown, or before pandemic rather, and I think we should continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I have a killer bar question for you guys.
Yeah.
Do you alphabetize via distillery, or do you group via bottlers? Because I haven't been there and I didn't think about this when I was in there.
Neither, actually.
Tell me, how do you put your whiskey on your back bar?
Maybe Yao can show you the back bar there.
Oh, yeah.
Just according to the region.
Oh, I'm going to hold on again. I get really motion sick.
Geographic location.
Oh, really now?
Purely geographic location.
Okay.
And basically how it fits. Yeah.
All right. And
the space sites are all together.
Yeah. And then
Campbelltown's
on
together.
the top, you got like lowland and blends. Then you got the Islay section here. It's all Islay. We got
so where do peated space ciders go in the space side section still?
Oh, yes, in space side. So
yeah.
they're not by flavor. They're completely by geographical region.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're just kind of lumped together. So there's not really a system other than geographical, because like sometimes the bottles don't look nice when they're stacked nice together. Like if you get a whole bunch of, for example, I'll show you. So for example, if you get a whole bunch of like Glenallichys, for example, right? And then you put it up with some Glenfarclas. You don't want like too many short bottles next to each other, so you're gonna kind of mix it up, even though they're both Glen. So I guess it looks aesthetically pleasing.
I'm glad I asked.
Do you also have a like, you know how at a supermarket there's always that sort of rinky-dink world food section? Do you have like that sort of weird sort of world whiskey section tucked away somewhere that no one looks at?
Right.
They're my favorite sections.
World sections here. We got like Taiwan, all the like the fusion malts, Wales, Canada, India.
That's your yearly quota of saying fusion
Ireland,
malts, by the way. Sorry, mate. That's not a verified term. So there you go.
And it kind of works out that way. It's really good because we do all single cask, a lot of single cask bottlings anyway. So if they're all within space, we kind of know we know what they taste like. So we just go to that region, look for the distillery, and you know which bottle tastes like what. So pretty simple.
All right.
It's a good education, I think, for staff as well. I think it's to be able to, have to sit there and just go, okay, right, you've now got to learn everything by region. It's
by geographical location. Exactly.
Pretty much.
And it forces them to learn the flavors.
Yeah.
That's how I did it pre-speakeasy, was geographical. And then went to speakeasy and we do it alphabetical. Which I do find it makes it easier for some new bartenders.
100%. For people that don't have a grasp.
Yeah, and ones that don't have that huge whiskey educational background. So, cool. I've always wanted to ask you guys
that has like 50 bartenders,
Yeah. Like Nick and Nora's.
Exactly. So.
It ranges an interesting point. There's a question coming through here from Crafty, from Craftworks Distillery. Do you believe in Geo Flavours? Now, I'm a firm disbeliever in geographical flavours.
Not these days. Not anymore.
No, not. Maybe for introductory. For example, when you're shopping off the shelf on a big scale for big brands, yes, you can somehow argue that. But when you get into independent bottlers and you get into single cask, it's definitely that goes out the window straight away.
Yes, but I there's a fine distinction here, but I think regionality is like printed on a bottle or something is meaningless. But I think but I still think there's geographical flavor to whiskey at the same time. I don't know. I don't want to go too far deep into that, but
you're like, I'm going to drop it and just not talk about it.
Well, I can talk about it, but it'll take an hour. But it's just one of those things. Like I think there's geographical flavor elements, and I'm not saying the T word. I'm not saying terroir here, but I'm going to say that there are geographical flavor elements to whiskey that I think are almost undeniable, but I think regionality as a tag is a wasted of time.
I was asked an interesting question this week for an article or some it's a customer of some sort, but they were saying, what's unique about your distillation process at Buffalo Trace? I was like, well, that's not the difference. It's like how we distill at Buffalo Trace versus how they distill at Turkey versus how they distill at Beam. Like, we're all kind of doing the same thing. It's like the difference is your mash bill to start with, and then your aging and your rack houses, and it's where you stick it, and So then, even in America, it's the same. Technically the same wood. It's all virgin American oak. So,
and they'll all tell you the yeast is one of the big character references.
Like, well, we're pretty much, and it's hard because we're all doing the same thing. Like,
extent, That's,
so I think it's more like
that salty, savory flavor, and because it's right next to that ocean.
I think there's an element certainly in Scotland, but then also it's you've got multiple distilleries in the Speyside. Some have got fat, dumpy stills. Some have got tall, elegant, slender stills. Some have got upward line line arms. Some have got downward line arms. Everything there makes a difference and makes a change. Wooden washbacks or stainless steel washbacks, or
correct.
Every step of the process is making something completely different.
That's
and being in Speyside versus being in the Highlands makes no difference. If you've both got fat, dumpy stills, you're probably going to make fat, sulfury spirit.
I agree, but I think I also agree with Matt in the fact that Old Pulteney can only be made at Wick. Ardnamurchan can only be made at Ardnamurchan. Like Fleurieu can only be made at Goolwa. To then put a geographical line on a map and go, these all taste the same, was a great idea in the late 80s and 90s. I understand why it was done. But to get back to the point, it's on your bar, people will come in and they're not necessarily going to ask for a Speyside, but you're grouping them as a way of ordering, not a way of flavor profiles.
It's just group. It's just easy for us to pick it out. So it's not like I say, it's because on the menu they're sort of on the menu it's written as the area where they are and then alphabetical. Here it's just geographical because it's easy for us to locate them. It's like no bearing on the flavor whatsoever.
So Glenallachie could be in the middle today, and if the bottles fit better on the left side the next day, it would be.
So it really is just you two working behind that bar.
Exactly.
Well, pretty much, yeah. And I was like, whatever looks the best, like whatever fits, right? Because sometimes,
if you ever have any guest bartenders,
sometimes it'll be here.
If you have any guest bartenders or casual staff,
Joey Tai fills in for us sometimes. We've got a few other friends as well who fills in.
Oh, but she's just a whiskey Wonder Woman. Like
exactly.
She would be at the right bottle
absolutely
from 50 paces. Yeah.
Yeah, she'll just ask. I mean, most people they don't know. They'll just ask where that. I'm like, that's over there. Just go for it.
Yeah.
All right. And question: if you guys focus on IBs, do you ever reference back to core products for distillery characteristics?
100%.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yes. Because IBs are pretty interesting in some way. One of the the big appeals of IB at the beginning was they bottle a lot of distilleries that don't normally get bottled. So that was one of the big things about IBs and why they got so popular. Otherwise you would never taste a Brave Isle, stuff like that. As
good reason for that.
Well, I don't know about that.
Says the IB.
Most Brave is okay, whatever.
Anyway, but there are some bottlers that really pride themselves in picking really shining examples of distillery character. I mean, like for example, like Adelphi sometimes when they do a lot of their bottlings, was like, wow. A Mortlach, for example, is like you taste it like, wow, that is picture perfect Mortlach or picture perfect Kleinlich. This is like textbook as what you expect a fantastic Kleinlich to be.
Yeah, I think Infrequent Flyers is doing an amazing job doing that right now. So if you see some of his bottles, he might pick a young Miltonduff, 10 years old or whatever. And on the label, he says there, this is the classic Miltonduff style.
Yeah.
It's young, it's not something too different to their house style. But yeah, it's the best example of what a Miltonduff can be here.
Yeah. As they say, every distillery has its sweet spot, and a Miltonduff is usually enjoyed at a younger age. Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay.
Or
Yeah,
very
definitely-
old.
definitely reference
Or
back to
very
the
old
old
Miltonduff.
product.
And as to Alex's question, I mean, it was the IBs in the early days that popularized single malt as a category. So it's only fitting that they be often referenced back to that distillery, and that's a throwback to Whisky Roundtable episode 5. There you go.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
You remember
And-
episode 5?
I'm sitting here going, I'm never going to challenge Matt in some sort of "do you remember" game.
That was
because-
a 4-hour monologue, I think, wasn't it?
No, that was like an episode where IB featured heavily.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
I reckon he's just making it up, knowing that we're just going to go, well, I don't
I'm
remember.
totally going back.
You can
because
look-
I don't
you can
even
look it up.
remember that
Go back,
episode.
fact check.
Look it
Fact
up.
check.
Be my guest. Be my guest.
We've done nearly
Alright.
40 episodes now, haven't we?
Wow.
A bit more than
And
that,
still
bit
not
more
one
than
good
that.
one yet.
Yeah.
This is the good one. This is the
This
good
is
one.
the one.
It's not over yet. It's not over yet.
Okay, Alex, do you want to kick off with some Proust?
Oh, I had one more question just before
Oh,
you
yeah,
get
sorry,
past.
sorry.
Please go for it.
Show me your whiskey flex on your back bar.
No.
Oh,
I love doing this with bars. Flex for me, baby. Come on.
What is the craziest right now?
Oh, I'll tell you one of the most fun ones that we've had, and it's kind of disappearing really quickly.
Show them the long row as well.
While he's finding that, I've just cracked in getting ready for Proust questionnaires. You can see I'm on a bit of a boutique thing at the moment.
You
But
are.
a 15-year-old Lecheg, which is weird and funky and metallic smoke. So I'm
Like,
getting
we
ready.
we opened this like not long ago, and it's already
Is that long?
down near the bottom.
The Banrock 45.
Ah, then Romic.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think this has
Very
only
cool.
been open for like 2 months, 2.5 months. It's nearly gone. It's really
How many
nice.
customers have had a go at it? Was it just been yourself?
Oh no, it's all customers, all customers.
So
Start knockoff.
customers.
It's the
40,
knockoff bottle,
45
mate.
years old. Does that mean it's $45 a nip? Is that how it
Oh, I
works?
wish.
That was,
I wish.
7 years ago pricing, man. Not really.
Do you have customers have problems with IB pricings or anything like that in your
No.
venue? No.
Not really an IB
No.
pricing, but prices of single malt these days is just gone crazy, you know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think on that question, I think the value actually is in the IBs at the moment. That's from like, and particularly for stuff of a
agree
certain
with that.
age. Yeah, and
Half, Scotty, half. Like
Sure,
you said,
half.
there's 1,500 bottlers in the world. Half of them get their casks after it's passed through, I don't know, 10 hands.
Cast
pricing
traders,
is-
yeah.
And the pricing is stupid, yeah?
Yeah.
But if you get them from a reputable bottler who's been around for a while now, then the pricing is accurate.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
quick shout out to Ian and Kira from North Star, who probably have the most honest and transparent market price
100%.
I've ever seen out of an independent bottler.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, Proust.
Hit us.
Game time.
I'm trying
It's
to
almost
think of
kick
my,
off. It's game time.
all right, I'm trying to think about my first. All right. Start with yourself, Kelvin.
Mhm.
Who is your whiskey hero?
Whisky Hero. Oh. That's a tough question.
Actually,
I would say my manager in the restaurant I used to work at. I would say he's my whiskey hero. He introduced me to lots of different
That's
whiskeys.
big. That's a big one. Whoa!
Yeah.
Oh,
do you,
shout out to him.
He's
Did
a
you want to give a name?
dodgy guy, but you know, well, his name is
No,
Tim,
no, hey, don't
dodgy guy.
say this thing, Dodgy. You from Elysian again?
don't name him.
But man,
No, he's a lovely guy, love that
really,
guy.
really
It's
good
fine.
mate of mine. He's like a brother.
Yeah.
And you know, in my early days, he taught me lots about whiskey. Introduced me and was always very generous. You know, always opening bottles and sharing with me. So I would say he's one of my big heroes. Yeah, for sure.
And you didn't say his name.
His name is Sim. Sim.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Very cool.
All right, yeah.
Whiskey hero wise,
You can say Kelvin, it's okay.
I'll probably say Suzuki-san from the Mash Tun, who's been a really good friend, and he's taught me a lot about stuff, and he's like always, got a lot
Lovely
of
guy.
time when I ask questions, and he's shown me a lot of fun things in Tokyo. It's good.
Truly lovely person as well.
Not always whiskey, but always fun.
I think
90% whiskey. 90% whiskey.
90% whiskey. Yeah,
Nice
no,
save,
and
Kelvin.
every time,
Nice
every
save.
time we meet up, and we have, every time we meet up, we have a very, very good time. Drink lots of really good whiskey.
There was one fateful night, I think it was after a Whiskey and Dreams, that he might have been at the Elysian.
Yeah,
Yes,
everybody
that's right,
here,
yeah.
yeah.
There's a bunch of Australians, and I'm not going to include myself because I was on my very best behaviour, that scared that poor gentleman. He got a very Australian drinking culture crash course, I'll say.
Oh yeah, threw him in the deep end.
Oh yeah.
Nah,
All
he
right.
totally enjoyed that night, and he can't wait to come back as well, man.
Yeah.
All right, who's next?
All right. Well, in terms of whiskey bars, what's your favorite thing and what's your least favorite thing in a whiskey bar?
In a whiskey bar. Oh.
Oh.
Favorite.
Least favorite is obviously price gouging.
Okay.
Yeah, I hate that. Like overinflating prices. I don't like that. Obviously.
And favorite?
Favorite thing. Having some passionate stuff, I think is very important.
That is huge.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether I've been there and I've tried all the whiskeys on the back bar. It doesn't matter as long as they got some passionate stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, for me, when I go to a whiskey bar, I'm always trying to find something that I would like to try, So some exciting bottlings, or even if it's a official range, something fun and priced right, Obviously, we know the prices these days, so yeah, it's gonna be priced right. Least favorite
Because
thing about
It's a hot topic.
Yeah.
Man, you got some people who come to the bar and they're on their phone at the same time, looking at the menu and then checking the prices online, and they're like, "All right,
Yeah.
should I order this dram? Should I buy a bottle? Blah blah blah."
Yeah, but
We get that a little bit as well, being in the bottle shop, and you get like the
100%.
stores that have just like to translate prices to AU, and they're like, but it's $38 overseas. It's like, cool, be my guest, mate. Absolutely, go for it.
Ship it over here.
Oh
for them.
yeah.
You deal with the
100%.
customs
Like,
and DHL, man.
you get the famous question. Oh, but Master of Malt has it for mid price.
Yeah. The big one was, I don't know if you guys got Selfridges. Selfridges were pushing, and they even put like an AU.Selfridges and just took all their whole stock and just translated it to AU dollars, and were quite a little bit sneaky about it, trying to get the Aussie dollar. I think they must have done it with their whole product line, not just whiskey. But yeah, we had for about 3 months, everyone coming in, but Selfridges have got it for $20. It's like, cool.
Wow.
Go.
It's ironic because they're one of the more.
Some for me at the same time.
No, very few people went there in the UK to go and buy their booze because they were a luxury. It's sort of a David Jones, Harold's kind of store for London. So no one was going there and being like, "Oh, I'm going to pick up a nice bottle of whiskey from Selfridges," for the reason that it was inflated in price in the first place.
Market and ritzy in the UK. So yeah.
All right.
I'll ask both of you actually, because you've tasted a lot of whiskies behind the bar over the years and even before then. What do you appreciate most in a whiskey? So what would be some qualities of when you first try a malt that you say, or will retry a malt and say this is a very quality malt? What do you appreciate most in it?
Balance, first and foremost.
Balance for sure.
Balance is the biggest thing. If I can find, fruitiness, some extra elements on top of that, and you get a balance of the oak and the distillery profile. That's a good whiskey there, right there.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, for sure.
Well, that was an easy one.
They're chewing up these press questionnaires like I know.
No, because I get it because we've all probably we're at a point where we drunk quite a lot of whiskey, and everyone goes through the phases, right? Everyone goes through the sherry phase, everyone goes through the peated phase, and then sooner or later,
You end up at
kind of
X7.
zero. Yeah, end up with X7 class, because you wanna you enjoy the hunt for flavor.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a much more intellectually challenging dram. It's fun.
But before I pass the baton to Scotty for his Proust, then because that was a short one, by the same token, what do you least appreciate then? And you can't say imbalance.
Oh, right.
You have everything I just said.
Sulfur.
Oh, definitely yes. Yeah, sulfur is one.
Yeah,
I'm quite sensitive to sulfur. Yeah. So.
We're talking cask sulfur, obviously.
Cask
sulfur, not spirit sulfur. I really like spirit sulfur, but yeah.
Who doesn't?
Cask sulfur.
Yeah.
Some people get weirded out by it.
Sulfur.
Yeah, what was that, Scotty?
I bathe in spirit sulfur every night.
Exactly. I sleep in the Mortlack worm tubs. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah.
Why not?
Lovely sauna. Yeah.
All right, Scotty, make it
I think
a hard
I
one.
think the other part would be disingenuous marketing.
Disingenuous marketing. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree
another
with
thing I
that.
like about another thing I look for in whiskey is the wood varnish character. Sometimes you get this lovely wood varnishy kind of stewed fruit coming out. That's a
Right.
lovely flavor.
Yeah, there's like a nice nail polish acetone character
That's it.
from like especially for 70s Oloroso sherry casks.
Yeah.
So almost like an agricole kind of note to it, like
Yes,
almost,
some of them rummy.
That's
Yeah,
not
some
bad,
of them
yeah,
tend
some
to
of
be a
that,
little
yeah.
bit rummy.
yeah,
A
sure,
lot
I
of
get that.
Japanese whiskeys that in heavy sherry tend to carry a lot of that character as well.
You could almost say it's like an umami note, like a
bit of umami. More than that, it's just like acetone. More the acetone note. Yeah.
It was a very Hanyu thing to do, wasn't it?
Oh, Hanyu has a lot of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a lot of casks that was heavy on that.
No.
Yeah. The Ben Romac 45 that Yao was showing you earlier, that had some wood varnish as well, and that was beautiful. Yeah, this whiskey rancio. It's beautiful.
Oh yeah,
Rancio,
definitely rancio. You know,
Yeah.
from any
Yeah.
of those like old 60s or 70s, like when they got a bit of that OBE, that'd be great.
Well, that's even presuming OBE exists, and that's
Well,
a discussion for another.
That's a long
a whole
discussion for
different-
another time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I
a
don't
long
want to go down
discussion
that rabbit hole. Okay. Yep.
I've got one that's off topic. I don't think it's on the list, but we've probably all collectively drunk some phenomenal
Drink.
whiskies, and we've drank.
Drunk.
We've tried whiskies from all around the world that have suddenly sort of made us change our whole perception of whiskey, and been very lucky to try amazing things. So if you had one whiskey that, not your favorite whiskey, but one whiskey that made you go, damn, that completely changed my perception of this distillery or this bottler or something, or a flavor that you've never had before that you've gone, oh my God, I get it. Like a light bulb kind of moment. What's been that for you?
I know Kelvin's one straight away.
Mine answer straight away.
Maybe they should answer for each other. Maybe
I know.
Oh, we should have done that.
No. Well, the first time I tried, and I think many of you would have tried, in the IB world, there were a bunch of these 1973, 75 whiskeys that came out, starting, 4 or 5 years ago. They started to appear in the market. And when they first appeared, they were about 40, 42 years old. And man, that flavor, they're all secret space sites. And every bottler you ask gives you a different answer to what it might be. So I've given up. I think nobody really knows. But these secret space sites, they all were really gentle. They were a bit funky. The rancio was there. And it was just an amazing flavor profile, yeah. Anyone who asks me what's the desert whiskey, desert island whiskey, it'll be that.
I mean, most secret space ciders are normal. I mean, most of the time, you can narrow it down to something Edrington or something Glenfarclas, and it's something.
I have a guess for this.
Some
one.
of them have told me Macallan even,
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's Macallan or Glenfarclas is what you hear the most.
A lot of them are Glenfarclas, but yeah. I've tried some Aberlour
guess.
official, and they tasted like that too, so who knows?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I thought that stuff might have been, because it was late 70s, wasn't it?
Early
No,
70s.
1973 to
Early.
1975.
Okay, right. Because there was, if it's the one, was it the Antique Lions stuff? Was that
Antique
one?
Lions
Lions
did
did
one,
one
yeah.
as well, yeah.
See, I had a guess, and because we opened it in this tasting room, we sort of put our heads together after the tasting, and we had a wild stab at Ben Riach.
So
And we
you
had
must
that
have tasted
flavor profile,
you tasted the 76 or 77, I think.
Yeah, that's right. I thought it was
not,
later.
Not the 73. The 73 tastes different. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all are crazy. I love this.
Yeah, go on.
Moly.
What's yours?
Oh, the first time I tasted a 60s Bomo for sure.
64.
No, 60s Bomo. Any 60s
60s
Bomo.
Bomo.
Anytime, the first time I
Definitely a
tried
magical
60s
moment
Bomo,
for everyone.
oh
yeah.
my god! Like I did a bicentenary flight and fucking blew my mind.
Nice.
It was so cheap. It was so cheap back then. Oh my god.
So,
I'm intrigued because I wanted the whole group to do this because I think we've never done this one as a team, but I'm exactly the same. I was told about Tropical Bowmore and all this flavor and never got it. And it was a 66 Hart Brothers and a 65 Duncan Taylor, and it was exactly the same. Just suddenly go, shit, I understand it now. It's like, I'm with you.
I think for me it was one of those. It was a G&M bottling that was one of my sort of real light bulb moments of whiskey, which was it was a 19. It was actually, I tasted it out the back of Oak Barrel. There you go, 1955 Highland Park.
Wow.
And it was very generously shared around, and it was like that was one of those sort of like, you know, that's.
Was that the?
Do you remember which bottling? Is it black label bottling or?
No, it had a bit of age. This bottle sitting in a cellar somewhere, but it was sort of like a beige label with the almost the ruby font on it, with the gold cap. So it was
right.
54 or 55 was the age on it, and it was I can't remember what year it was bottled, but it wouldn't have been much further than say 71 or 72 or something. But yeah, it was, and I went on a hunt of Highland Park for about 2 years after, just hoovering up all sorts of things I could find, especially earlier bottlings. But yeah.
That's a really interesting answer, because if you're drinking out the back of the Oak Barrel, that's already in your whiskey journey. So on the question, Milne was sort of asking, what was was there a light bulb moment for whiskeys that said,
it doesn't have to be at the beginning. I think for a lot of us, it's quite a long way in.
It changed. So like if you say, like, my obvious thing is to go for it, that a 1939 Linkwood that I tried, favorite distillery, pre-war, unbelievable. Did it really change the way that I thought about what Linkwood could be? No, it was just the best possible example of it. The whiskey that I first turned around and said, shit, this can be different, this is something I want to be involved in, Jameson. And it was at the very start of the journey.
And if only they bottled it at 43%.
I know, right?
No.
They've really missed the trick there.
Yes. That was the whiskey for me that made me turn and being like, gee, I can drink this, and this is like, there's a bit going on here. I was 18, so it was like got me off 2 years old, basically, I think is what it did.
Yeah.
Alex?
I'm going to say Jack.
Yeah.
Nice. Just regular Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
That was I've had many light bulb whiskey amazing moments, like ones where I've nearly climbed a table at a distillery in Glenfiddich, sitting in a tasting room, and I'm one knee, both hands up on this big boardroom, trying to reach over and grab this bottle out of Ross's hand. But Jack was my like, yeah, I'm home. This is it for me.
Nice.
If I can add to that, Michael Perellini has just added a very pertinent comments, because what I love about Jameson is it can be enjoyed and re-enjoyed. And the Janet was a light bulb moment for me with a few friends. I think it was the Doss House is where it was born. But
good to see you, Perellini. Hope you're well, mate.
We tried it at Elysian, but you guys didn't have Fanatic Branca, I don't from memory. So half Fanatic Branca.
We do, actually.
I've got Fanatic Branca. What are you talking about?
You didn't have Jameson. That was you didn't have.
That is right.
And so that was definitely a light bulb moment for me. We are at 8:30, so we've taken up a little bit longer than we said. Do you have time for one more?
One more pass.
Which distillery would you love to work at? And this is not a question about what's your favorite distillery, but this is about like the ethos of a distillery, where it is in the world, you know, the people that you may have met from that distillery, like which distillery, and we're not talking for a week, but if you had to, you know, up sticks and go to work at any distillery in the world right now, where would you pick?
And I'm just going to hold on. Before you jump in, I'm just going to say it could be a distillery as interesting in their distillation method as, say, something like a Mortlach, but it could be a distillery as uninteresting as Speyburn. But either way, make that your pick, and then which distillery would it be?
For me, I think it would be Springbank.
If the pub next door to Speyburn is better than the pub next door to Mortlach, then maybe you want to work at Speyburn. Like there's a lot of caveats to this question.
Closer to town, and
so let the boys answer the question.
you can run it off a computer. So technically, you can set up in the pub, and then stick your laptop open.
Telework Speyburn.
You know. So.
Okay, sorry. Go with the question. Sorry.
For me, it would be Springbank, I think. It's one of the most traditional distilleries in Scotland still, you know. Everything's done by hand. When I was over there, you know, it was filthy distillery. There's dirt everywhere, and it contributes to that lovely flavor it puts out. Yeah. I would definitely love to do a little stint there. Not for long, because everything's done by hand.
So maybe that's not the answer that you're looking for there.
Yeah, that's true.
Elysian's very clean. Could you stand that dirt?
Kelvin's got very soft hands. Come on.
How long am I working at this distillery for?
For life, for the rest of your life.
How about you, Yao?
I picked Chichibu.
Okay.
Okay.
You work with the egg. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, that's a gorgeous distillery. Every time I go there, it's really
Oh,
fun.
what do you mean
It's
every
good.
time? It's still on my bucket list to do.
Such a subtle flex. Yeah.
I've only been to Chichibu. I've only been once, but it's a
Town
fascinating
is
distillery.
great. I was very lucky just before the last lockdown. Was there for the last Chichibu festival, and they were still doing kind of preview tours of their new distillery. And wow, amazing! The new facility is great, and it's like right down the road from the old distillery. And the town is very nice. You know, it's fairly close to Tokyo, so like really accessible. I think it's such a great place to work and live. Like if I had to choose one place to work and live for the rest of my life.
Really important question. For people who don't know, like Chichibu do fill into certain egg-shaped vessels to mature. Whenever you fill an egg at Chichibu, do you say, "Hey team, well done, we laid another egg"? Is that what happened?
It depends if the egg cracks or not. You know, they've had to send back a couple of cracked eggs, which is really terrible. Actually.
Just by the way, other podcasts and streams are available at any point if you decide to change the channel.
I guess you definitely have to crack into each cask, surely.
Yeah, 100%.
Did you call a blender scrambled?
All right. Well, thanks
Thanks
for coming on, guys. And we're so excited
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
that you guys get to get out of lockdown on
Friday.
Friday.
2 days.
and you're still under restrictions, right?
Yeah.
Mild restrictions, not too bad. Like thankfully, like I said, we are a small bar, and these restrictions don't affect us. It affects us, but not as much as it does big venues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, look, on behalf of everyone else in Australia, we know we're all in this together as a country and as friends, and you guys are doing the time for what essentially is a global crime at the moment. There's no rhyme or reason why that's happening. So we really appreciate the struggles that you guys and the whole town and where your bar owners, bar workers, people who are just small business all over the place. We really appreciate the effort you've gone in and done it with a smile as well, and come on your stream taking time out of your day. So we will be down as soon as it's safe. I know there's a lot of people on this chat room that are going to get down there. So
I will be there in July, the first week of July, hopefully.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I think I'm
Well, lucky you managed to make it
August.
down for a quick trip. You didn't make it down.
No, I was meant to be there.
Just
in the first week you were lockdown.
Scott made it down, but
Scott made it, but
Yeah,
I was due the weekend after, and I had to cancel because you guys.
Yeah.
locked down.
Lockdown.
So, but I'll be there for 4 days, and I'm definitely gonna come and drink some whiskey.
Yeah,
See how much of it you remember.
August, September.
Melbourne's been the
September,
worst
I'll be
hangovers
there.
of my life.
I challenge you, Yao, to take me to as many ramen restaurants in Melbourne as we can over 4 days.
4 between meals, all right? That's the aim. 4
It's
between
not
meals.
that many here, to be
Melbourne?
honest.
I
Not that many
challenge you
here.
to take me to Japan.
Yeah, you've got Japan. Like you gotta be ready to eat.
All right. Well,
All right,
thank you very much.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you
Guys,
so
if
much,
anyone
guys.
is around on Friday night, it's my last night at Speakeasy, so I'll be at
Yay.
Milne. If anyone wants to come down for a drink,
Nah.
I
Sorry,
think I'm
cheers.
going to get pissed in my own venue for the first time.
Hell yeah.
Isn't it a dry bar? It's like-
It is.
All the
That's why
best.
it's the first time. All right, guys.
we'll be there.
All right.
Take
Thanks,
care
guys.
and lots
Thanks
of
for having
love.
us.
Catch you guys soon.
Cheers. Have a
Thanks,
good one.
everyone.
Thank you.
See you later.
Thank you everyone for tuning in.